my name is Evan Sharp. I'm a co-founder of Pinterest, but more interestingly, I went to high school here. Graduated in 2001. I used to sit here every single day eating lunch. Probably pretty awkward at the time. It's hard to remember. I blocked a lot out of my memory. But it's really interesting and exciting for me to come back and just see everyone and come back to high school and see some of my old teachers. So I was in the band. I played soccer. I played baseball. Did a bunch of extracurricular activities. And then when I graduated, I went to the University of Chicago, and I majored in history. It took me many years to figure out what I wanted to major in. When I was in high school, I was always on my computer, upstairs in my room. My mom was always yelling at me to get off. It still happens today sometimes. But in retrospect, she's like, man, I'm so glad you didn't listen to me and you didn't get off your computer, because it ended up being a really good thing to do with your life. It took me a couple of years to figure out what I wanted to do. I graduated with a degree in history. History is not the most in-demand skill in the market today, so there are kind of history jobs you go out and get. And so I ended up working in a lot of different places. I worked in City Hall in Chicago doing zoning. I ended up working at a startup in Chicago that did real estate search engine software. Then I went to architecture school in New York, graduate school, for about a year and a half. And then finally, I've been doing a lot of design and coding on the side. So that's been my weird kind of not linear path to the job I have today. But one lesson I think that I learned pretty late in life, and one of the reasons I was interested to talk to the kind of design studio here, is that I think I'm a very visual person. I'm a very visual learner. And it took me a long time to understand that was something that was kind of out there, that there were jobs in design, there were jobs in art. You know, I was kind of an OCD, like I collected rocks and I collected coins and I was always organizing things, and I was kind of annoying about it, I think, to my parents. And then my partner, Ben, who I met, was kind of the same way. He was a big nerd. He liked to collect insects and things like that. And what's funny about Pinterest is that when we built it, we didn't go out to build, a big internet company. You know, we wanted to build something that we were going to use ourselves. And so I was an architect at the time, you know, and one of the things when you're doing architecture or design is seeing work. Seeing design work is really inspiring. You kind of learn new ideas and new things by seeing what others have done. And there was just no way to kind of discover architectural drawings and renderings online. It was really, really hard. There are some books, but they were really expensive. And so for me, it was a tool for my job, actually. It was a way to collect drawings and renderings and kind of organize them in a visual way. And it turns out that that is really good for other people for lots of other different things that I don't do at all, like cooking and, you know, planning a house or planning a kid's birthday party. You need the same sort of tool. So it's a little bit weird, it's a little bit disconnected, right? You see people, more and more people are using the service, you see all the computers that are going into that, but it's really hard to kind of feel that emotionally, I think. And so it didn't really hit me until, I think it was 2011, and what happened was that kind of everyone went home for Christmas, and for some reason they all talked about it, and all of a sudden, everyone I met who was a stranger knew what it was, even if they didn't use it. And that's what really started freaking me out. Was that, you know, I'd go meet some new friend, a friend of a friend, and they'd know exactly what Pinterest was, and all of a sudden it was a thing. So that happened really, really quickly in the United States. It still hasn't happened everywhere around the world, which is nice. But that was a couple of years ago. But it keeps getting bigger, you know, which is, I feel very lucky about. But so it's more and more of a thing. But to start, when you start building something, you probably don't need any money, or you need maybe a couple $100. As long as you have a computer and you can kind of learn the tools are all free. The development community is very, very open and giving in a way. So you can go build something, you know, put it up on the internet for almost no money. And then if it gets big, you need to start raising money. A lot of people kind of learn not to be creative, right? It's really hard to be a great painter or a great sculptor, and that's what people think about when they think about being creative. And that's true, there's a lot of like skills you have to learn. But creativity is more a way of thinking, it's more about being open to possibilities. And if you can do that in your life, I think you'll be, as a rule, way more successful, way more happy, right? You can kind of explore some of what's out there for you rather than being really focused on like filling a path that's there for you already. To start, but once you start, then you learn this feedback loop, because what you build is so tangible in front of you. You know, it's not like architecture. In architecture, you design a beautiful building, but it never gets built. So you don't get that like emotional feedback, that like excitement that you may get. When you code, what's great is that you code something, it's right there and you can play with it. So it's really, really fast cycles of learning. So I think it's much easier to learn something like programming than maybe other design disciplines. I thought it was a terrible, terrible name. So before we called it Pinterest, we had an even better name. It was called Orkboard, which is like the corkboard without a C, because we could get the domain name. It was like orkboard.com. Such a bad name. And then my co-founder Ben's wife is like, you should call it Pinterest. It's like a pin in your interest. We were like, that's so bad. No one's gonna be able to say that. It's so hard to understand. Is it Pinterest? What is it? But we were like, oh, we can get the domain, so we just bought it. But we'll call it that for now. And we did. And then it got big, and so now it's the name of the company. And it turns out that it probably doesn't matter. You know, you can name a company like something totally stupid, and if it gets big enough, people associate that name with a company like Apple, right? Nothing to do with computers.